Last month I put out a video called 5 Countries to Retire to on Social Security Alone. Although the video is doing quite well, trending over 200,000 views in the first month, there was one comment that came back again and again and again. And that comment, what about Malaysia? Why didn't Malaysia make the top 5? One viewer said, a lot of people like Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. It's a cheap, very modern, inexpensive city with lovely people. Another said, as a former British colony, English is widely spoken in Malaysia, not in some of these other countries you mentioned. Another viewer simply said, Malaysia, Sarawak, MM2 Visa, great English and friendly. There were more comments, of course, quite a few more, and I noted it for further review, but these comments all centered around the fact that the residents were friendly, the country was very, very inexpensive, and the residents spoke English well. By definition, when someone retires to another country, they need to learn how to navigate the language barrier themselves. And it's usually done in one of 3 ways. They learn enough of the local language so that they have a functional base so that they can get around. The next is that they live in a community of other people that speak the same language, expats, if you will. And the third is that they know how to spot the traditional people that would speak their language, at least have enough knowledge of English to help them. Servers at restaurants, hotel staff, and business people that happen to be traveling into the country. If we add an additional metric that the local residents need to be able to speak English well or very well, well, that changes the analysis completely, and it actually means that some of the countries in our top 5 wouldn't make the top 5. But the fact is, in Malaysia, 72% of the population speaks English well or very well. And in fact, in the EF English Proficiency Index, Malaysia ranks number 26. That's quite high. Number 1, by the way, is the Netherlands, and number 116 in the index is Yemen. And by the way, if you're new here, hello, my name is Jeff. I'm a CPA turned author and public speaker. I've traveled to over 30 countries, and my record country is Australia with over 125 visits. Since 2020, I've been making videos on this channel which are all about retirement, retirement lifestyle, tools, and retirement finances to help you create the retirement that you can truly love. To date, we have over 300,000 subscribers, over 300 videos, 50 million views, and over 4 million hours of watch time. We're growing at about 100 videos per year, and we would love for you to subscribe and join our YouTube family. Okay, but what about safety? The residents of a lot of countries speak English, but some of those countries are very unsafe. And safety is our top metric for the channel. Well, in this case, Malaysia ranks number 10 in the world in terms of safety in the Global Peace Index. That's very, very high. For reference, the US ranks 132, ahead of Iran at 133, and behind Brazil at 131. One thing to note, like many developing economies, Malaysia has a high instance of petty crimes like pickpocketing. But one could also say the same thing about the cities here in the US, especially New York, which is where I live. What about cost? Well, Malaysia is 72% less than the cost to live in the United States, which means that Malaysia beat every single country in our top 5 index in the previous video. The average cost for one person to live in Malaysia is $687 per month. The average cost for one person to live in the United States is $2,454 per month. For reference, the average one-bedroom apartment is $349 per month in Malaysia versus $1,749 per month in the United States. Grocery prices are 48% lower than in the United States. A 3-course meal for 2 at a restaurant in Malaysia runs $22.23. In the US, it runs $75. A monthly mass transit pass in Malaysia is $17.40. A monthly mass transit pass in the United States on average is $65. Utilities for that one-bedroom apartment in Malaysia, $47.63 per month. In the US, $205.96 per month. I will note that salaries in Malaysia are 79% lower than they are here in the United States. So if we were putting out a video on where to work outside of the United States, Malaysia wouldn't make the cut. But that's not really a problem for retirees. Let me begin by saying the country is renowned for its beaches and islands. If you're looking for seaside beauty, this country is a very strong contender. The country has 2,905 miles of coastline, including peninsular Malaysia and East Malaysia on the island of Borneo. The western side of peninsular Malaysia faces the Straits of Malacca and has countless mangroves and sandy beaches. The eastern side faces the South China Sea and has absolutely pristine beaches. East Malaysia, located on the island of Borneo, has rugged coastlines, untouched beaches, and a biodiverse marine ecosystem. These beaches range from bustling resort areas like Langkawi to secluded, untouched paradises like those in Tun Sakaran Marine Park. In total, there are 878 islands in Malaysia, spread between peninsular Malaysia and East Malaysia. Now the weather. Malaysia is 85 miles from the equator, which means that the days and nights are 12 hours each, and they don't vary very much. It's a tropical country, so the temperature ranges from about 77 to 95 degrees on average, and rain is abundant, particularly during monsoon season. So if you don't like the tropics, Malaysia might not be the right place for you. The same might be said about living in South Florida as well. The country has 13 states, 3 territories, and 2 very well-known capital cities. The first is Kuala Lumpur, of course. This is the nation's capital and the largest city in Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur is known for its iconic landmarks like the Petronas Twin Towers. Kuala Lumpur has a vibrant culture and economic significance. The Petronas Twin Towers stand at 1,483 feet in the air, and it was the world's tallest building until 2004. The sky bridge that connects the 2 towers is the highest double-deck sky bridge in the world and offers stunning views of the city. The city is multicultural, with Malay, Chinese, Indian, and indigenous influences throughout. This reflects in the festivities, architecture, and cuisine, making the city a wonderful place for foodies. It's also one of the greenest cities in Asia, with landmarks like the Perdana Botanical Garden, KL Forest Eco Park, and Titiwanza Lake Gardens. It's also very close to rainforests and natural reserves, making it unique for a capital city. It's also a shopper's paradise with everything from luxury brands to budget-friendly street markets. Central Market and Petaling Street in Chinatown are must-visit spots for local crafts and great food. The other capital city, the administrative capital, is Putrajaya. The city houses most of the federal government offices and has a distinctive planned city layout. It was established in 1995, so it's only 30 years old. It has a mix of futuristic architecture, green spaces, and modern infrastructure, and is known first and foremost for its iconic buildings and bridges. It's built around a 650-hectare man-made lake, Putrajaya Lake, which acts as a cooling system for the city. Locals can kayak, boat, and engage in international water sports. 38% of the city is dedicated to greenery and parks, earning it the nickname Garden City. Malaysia ranks number 40 in the world in terms of modern infrastructure, which puts it in the pretty good category. Infrastructure is excellent around the urban areas and not very good in many of the rural areas. Healthcare is tricky, so we'll talk about that in just a moment. If you're watching this video before the 28th of February, you can download our free Social Security Quick Guide. It's one page, it's filled with great information, and the best part of all is it's very easy to use. This is my free gift to you, and it's absolutely free. Simply go to holyschmidt.com/quick guide to download your quick guide instantly. First up, roads and highways. Malaysia has an extensive road network, including the North-South Expressway, which connects major cities on the peninsula. In the urban areas, such as Kuala Lumpur, they have a good road system, but traffic congestion is a common issue. In the rural areas, this is less developed, and especially in East Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak, there's something to pay attention to here. In terms of public transportation, urban transit, Kuala Lumpur has an efficient system of trains, MRT, LRT, and monorail, and buses. Other cities like Penang have growing public transportation networks, but they're not fully built out. The intercity rail system, called KTM, connects major cities with long-distance train services. And the ETS, which stands for Electric Train Service, is a fast and efficient way to get in and around peninsular Malaysia. In terms of air travel, the country has 4 major international airports, including Kuala Lumpur. There are also regional airports that connect many of the small towns in and around the country. And in East Malaysia, a lot of the travel is in the waterways. In fact, I would say this mode of travel is essential for this part of the country. The internet and mobile connectivity is very good in urban areas, less so in the rural areas. Likewise, electricity. In urban and semi-urban areas, electricity is reliable. In the more urban areas, it's somewhat questionable. There's a similar theme to water. In the urban areas, water access is very good. In the rural areas, it's somewhat questionable. And in terms of healthcare, Malaysia has a dual system. Public healthcare is affordable and accessible, but has very long wait times. Private healthcare is high quality but more expensive, catering to locals and medical tourists. Urban areas have excellent facilities, while rural areas may have limited access. And in terms of the visa to actually live there, Malaysia has what's called an MM2H Visa, which means make Malaysia my second home. And that visa is available in 3 different formats: a 5-year, a 15-year, or a 20-year format, silver, gold, and platinum, respectively. They all allow for the possibility of renewing at the end of the period, and I haven't really heard of any horror stories of people that weren't allowed to renew. Most people apply in the silver category, and I'll explain why. The MM2H Visa is open to individuals of all nationalities, provided that they meet specific financial and health requirements. There are no age restrictions, although retirees are a significant group of applicants, and dependents are included in the application process, and that includes the spouse, children under 21, and parents over 60 as dependents. But there are financial requirements, and these differ slightly between Peninsular Malaysia and the states of Sabah and Sarawak. Here are the general requirements for Peninsular Malaysia in the silver category. Number 1, the application fee is $224, and you need to stay a minimum of 90 days per year, and that visa is a 5-year visa. There's also a financial requirement. Applicants must deposit $150,000 into a bank to show that they have the finances necessary to live in the country. They can later withdraw some of these funds for basic activities, housing, healthcare, or education. The retiree is also required to purchase a property valued at least $134,000. Foreign source income is generally not taxed in Malaysia, but that doesn't mean that the retiree doesn't have to pay U.S. income tax. If you like this video, check out that video. It's the one that I mentioned earlier, 5 places to retire to on Social Security alone. Also, if you think someone might be considering retiring to Malaysia or outside of the United States, please make sure you click that share button down below. It's the one that points in that direction. You press the button and input how you want to send it to them. You can even send them a link, and they will have this video in their inbox. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.
Holy Schmidt!